shown through pool via Getty Images in most of the U.S., it isn't explicitly illegal under federal law for an employer to fire someone just because he's gay or bisexual. And President Donald Trump's Department of Justice is working to keep it that way. On Wednesday, the Justice Department, led by Attorney General Jeff Sessions, filed a friend of the court brief at the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit arguing that Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 doesn't prohibit discrimination based on sexual orientation. The Justice Department's filing contradicts the stance of another federal agency, the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission (EEOC), which argues that the Civil Rights Act does protect gay and bisexual workers. Previously, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit also supported the pro-LGBTQ argument. The theories advanced by the EEOC and the Seventh Circuit lack merit, the Justice Department's brief said. These theories are inconsistent with Congress' clear ratification of the overwhelming judicial consensus that Title VII does not prohibit sexual orientation discrimination. The lawsuit behind the case was filed by Donald Zarda, a skydiving instructor who says an employer, Altitude Express, fired him due to his sexual orientation. It's not unusual for other parties to chime into cases like this. The argument goes into an ongoing legal battle over the 53-year-old Civil Rights Act. LGBTQ advocates argue that Title VII, which bans sex discrimination in the workplace, also bans discrimination based on sexual orientation and gender identity, because such discrimination is rooted in the expectations of how a person of a certain sex should act or identify. Since federal law doesn't explicitly ban discrimination against LGBTQ people, this would effectively amount to an expansion of whom federal non-discrimination law protects. The Obama administration supported this argument for gender identity, arguing that the Civil Rights Act protects transgender people. It never embraced the argument for sexual orientation, but at least during the past year, it hadn't taken an explicit stance against such legal cases. Under Trump and Sessions, the Justice Department is now actively working against these arguments. If the agency prevails, it will perpetuate a status quo in which gay and bisexual people can be fired solely because an employer doesn't approve of their sexual orientation. And it could try to apply the same stance on gender identity, letting employers discriminate against trans people. The Justice Department's brief is also the latest example of the Trump administration actively working against LGBTQ rights, from rescinding protections for trans students in public schools to banning trans people from the military. Although it contradicts some of Trump's campaign promises, anti-LGBTQ policy now seems like a major part of the president's agenda. Most states don't explicitly ban anti-LGBTQ discrimination under federal and most states' laws. LGBTQ people aren't explicitly protected from discrimination in the workplace, housing, or public accommodations such as restaurants, hotels, and other places that serve the public. This means that someone can be fired from a job, evicted from a home, or kicked out of a business just because an employer, landlord, or business owner doesn't approve of the person's sexual orientation or gender identity. But federal and state laws do ban discrimination based